After reviewing one of the best mechanical field watches on the channel, which happened to be done by Baltany, I've got swamped with comments that it is just a Hamilton homage, despite all the points in my video outlining why it is actually not. Okay, maybe it is. So, for my next Baltany review, I wanted something that is still military and pilot inspired, which is a big part of Baltany collection, and at the same time have an original design. Be practical, of course, versatile, and yes, good looking. And I think this Chrono ticks all those boxes. Or does it? Well, let's find out. Hello and welcome back! Well, not only will I be scrutinizing this Baltany for all those points I mentioned in the intro, but there is also something that Baltany did on this watch that me and few other reviewers have been asking for a while. It is a small thing, but it is definitely a step in the right direction, and we will of course come to it later in this video. And yes, this watch was kindly sent to me by Baltany, and I don't have to send it back, hence you probably saw a pop-up at the start of this video. In return, as usual, I agreed to provide a comprehensive review, and as a further full disclosure, no money changed hands, and Baltany didn't ask to review or influence this video in any shape or form. The only thing they did ask is to make sure that I point my links to their official online outlets, so of course all the links to this interesting watch and Baltany official stores will be in the description of this video. Do check them out. Okay, with all that out of the way, let's get on with the review. Dimensions. Bezel diameter is nice and compact at 38.3mm, while the slightly larger case is measured at almost 39mm. Case height is 12.5mm, and we have 20mm lugs here, great for strap options. Lug-to-lug distance is 46.5mm, only very compact and should work on pretty much most wrist sizes. The leather strap has a slight taper down to 18mm, and this strap should cover wrists up to 8.25 inch or 21 cm in circumference. And as supplied, this watch weighs 71 grams. I will post wrist shots on 6.25 inch and on my about 7 inch wrist a bit later in this video. Case. Well, taking a closer look at the case, we have an interesting combination of brushed and polished surfaces, starting with a bit unusual longitudinal brushing on top of the bezel and vertical brushing on the side of it, which is then interrupted by a high polished bevel. I like this mirror polished finish. It brings a bit of a dressy feel to this Pilot tool watch. The rest of the case is brushed, including the well-sculpted lugs. The screw-down crown and chronograph pushes are well proportioned. I like the criss-cross pattern on the grip of the crown and the pushes. It looks unusual and it is actually very practical too. So, no branding on the crown, however, the circular sunburst effect brushing on the crown serves as a bit of an alternative to a signed crown and is definitely not as boring as completely sterile crowns like we see on SKX watches under $1,000. Turning the case around, not much to see here, a simple screw-on back case with circular brushing. Baltany declared 100 meters of water resistance on this watch. I have very little reason to doubt this rating because the case build quality is very good. Do make sure though to tighten those chrono pushes and the crown before jumping in the pool. Crystal. We have ever so slightly curved double dome sapphire crystal here. The crystal is raised above the bezel and should reduce the risk of scratching the top of the case. The crystal is very clear and has a good amount of anti-reflective coating applied. The legibility is really good at pretty much any viewing angle. Design and dial. So let's talk about the design. We have all the hallmarks of A-type Fliegler dial, large Arabic numerals, our markers, large triangle with 2 lume dots on both sides at 12 o'clock position, and SWOT-style hands, which are generously filled with lume for a good legibility in the low light. To be brutally honest, when I looked at a vanilla A-type dial, if I can call it that, despite its great legibility, I find it somewhat sterile and, dare I say, a bit boring. And that's where this Baltany differentiates itself by introducing a chronograph complication and a date, making the dial more interesting to look at and, of course, more practical too. And Baltany managed to incorporate this additional functionality without overcluttering the dial. And I really like the final result. We have a nice and subtle sunburst effect on the black dial and also much more pronounced sunburst on the sub-dials. I like the date cutout at 6 o'clock position because it keeps the dial well balanced. Also because the date is in essence replaces what would be a white painted 6 o'clock marker, I'm okay with the date having a white background. If it was in any other place on the dial, then a dark background to the date, color matching the dial would make more sense. We have somewhat typical Elfliger type hands here. I like the high polished top of the hands. It bounces the light really nicely, which helps legibility and also gives this military timepiece a bit of a premium look. And we have a very decent dual color lume with a retro and BGW9 Superluminova on indices and on hands. It is not the brightest lume I possibly have seen, still it is pretty good for this watch price point. Movement. Well, we have Seiko meca-quartz VK67 movement here. It has about 3 years of battery life and a combination of quartz movement and the mechanical chronograph, a really good solid caliber. Now, a running second on this movement is actually at 6 o'clock position, but it looks like Baltany decided to do away with the running seconds dial in favor of a more balanced look with date position at the bottom of the dial, rather than, let's say, on the 4 o'clock position, like it's done on some other watches that are based on a similar caliber. So we don't have a running seconds as a result. Personally, I don't mind such an approach. If I do need a running seconds hand, I can always engage the chronograph. And to finish our overview of the movement, the dial on the right is a 24-hour indicator and the dial on the left is a 60-minute chronograph accumulator. Bracelet. Well, as for the bracelet, we get a good pliable genuine leather strap here. The leather is nice and soft and is comfortable on the wrist. This is probably not the highest quality, finest Italian leather sample, but it does the job. And of course, there are plenty of options if you want to upgrade the strap or replace it for a NATO or a Bund style strap. And finally, by popular demand, probably from me and quite a few other reviewers, it looks like Baltany gave us a well-finished buckle here with the branding. After reviewing 3 Baltany watches with sterile clasps and buckles, it is nice to see that Baltany finally addressed it and signed this buckle. Small thing, but nice nevertheless. Verdict. So yes, it is unmistakably an A-type Flieger, but with a solid original design approach of its own and definitely not a Clomage. For around $150-ish or as low as $133 during some aggressive AliExpress sales, this is a very solid value proposition. And of course, for more Baltany watches, check out this video here. Or for all kinds of other chronographs, I have actually dedicated chronograph playlist over here. And of course, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.